The question and answer session was definitely interesting. I think one of the real funny highlights was this some girl in our class tried to ask this really intelligent question about film and try to act like she knew what it was talking about, and the director completely didn't care what she had to say. By him not following the regular norms, such as the rule of thirds, and him just focusing on the movie and its context and just figuring out what was beautiful, I really admired that direction. I think that's something that too many filmmakers are bogged down with, especially the artsy filmmakers who want to just follow all these rules and these norms and say they did this because it does this. Well, you know what? Who cares? As long as it looks good and it's cool, like, that's the point, isn't it? But after than that, I think there were some parts of the Q&A that really didn't help his cause. By not doing those norms, like, yeah, you don't do the artsy thing and you kind of are just cooler in my personal opinion. However, I just don't think it should have been submitted to Cannes. Even if you won a previous award, I still don't think you deserve it. I mean, you did a great film. You did a fantastic job with the character of Robert. I think that's the reason to see the film, is because of the way the editing portrays him and it shows him. But he just didn't really have anything to say, and he didn't even know what he was saying. He just did it because he did it, and you can admire it or you can't. But I think that's the way it is, and that's the way he tries to leave it. After School by Antonio Campos, I think, is probably one of the best films we've seen so far this semester. While I don't necessarily agree that it deserved a spot at Cannes, I think the way they developed the characters was the highlight of the film. The story is based on a bunch of children at private school, and two children die of drugs. I feel as though that's a pretty normal story at a private school. There's always somebody dying of drugs or somebody doing drugs, especially at a private school that's residential. But I think what stood out about the film was possibly the acting, because the characters were casted really properly. Ezra Lee is the main character, Robert. I felt as though he really fit the role. However, I don't think it was his acting that made the role what it is. I think it was the way the film was shot and the editing of the film that really helped to develop Ezra's character off the screen and make him seem as more of a three-dimensional character. I think one of the definite highlights of this is in the beginning of the film when he's sitting in the classroom with his teacher, and the shot is mainly focusing on the teacher and her various body parts. And while that does sound creepy, it's the way a boy thinks, and it's like the way he looks, especially at a young age. He seems like he's a freshman in high school. It's that alone lets you set the tone of the mentality of the student and what he's going through and where he is in his life. And then other scenes, like for example when he was going to lunch, there was continuous out of focus, which was a great shot. However, Ezra, the main character, was in focus. And I think that helped to highlight that where he is and how he felt mixing in with his characters and what he was doing and where his place was in that society. And that later goes back to other actions he did take part in the film. However, I think one of the main parts of the film that really kind of confused everyone was the long shots. They were just really unnecessary, but also the inclusion of random video parts throughout the film. The overall basis of the film is Ezra in video class. However, a lot of the footage seems to not be of Ezra, or, I mean, not even his shooting. It seems as though it's from a third party that people don't really know where that third party is.